Welcome to my YouTube channel, everybody. My name is Benjamin Poole. You probably know that, one of the head traders at Verified Investing. I wanted to hop on here real quick and ask you guys a question. First off, thank you so much for watching and viewing my videos. Thanks for leaving comments. I've actually chosen 3 charts to go over. In one of my previous videos, I had mentioned that I was going to go over kind of my process in what I'm looking at in the charts. I have some lines on some of these charts. Other charts don't have any lines. I'm going to show you what kind of setup I do as far as like how I go about analyzing a chart, finding support and resistance levels and potential targets on a specific stock. Even one that I haven't taken a look at before. VERI is going to be one. FTAI is one. And then one that a couple of you mentioned is CRWV. Before I get started in that, I just had a question. Have you ever started into a routine and then something kind of derails you from that routine? My question is, what do you do? The next day, let's say you got taken out of your routine on Tuesday and you've started this routine. Do you jump back into it Wednesday? Or does your brain kind of take over and say, you know what? You skipped one day. It's not a big deal. I can go ahead and skip another day. What's the harm in that? Have you ever done that with working out? What about when you start like a nutritional plan? Or because we're talking about stocks, let's say you do that, you have a rule and you've stuck with this rule and you say, all right, once I get to an X amount of a loss, I'm going to take my profits. Or once I get this much in the gain, I'm going to put a trailing stop. And you've stuck with that rule several times, weeks, months, and then all of a sudden you don't, and then it plays out. What do you do next? Well, most people, their brains take over and say, you know what? Maybe that rule wasn't that great. And so then you deviate from that rule. And now all of a sudden that rule or that diet plan that you were on or that nutrition plan or the workout plan, you're like, okay, well, I've skipped one day. What's the next one? Who cares? And then you start skipping 2. So instead of skipping Monday one week, now you're skipping Monday and Thursday. Now it's all of a sudden Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. These are the rules that happen throughout our entire lives. One of the things that defines people who are successful and not successful is they eliminate all the excuses. They just say that, okay, so I missed it one day, but that was an exception. That is no longer the rule. I am going to stick with my rules. I'm going to stick with my diet plan. I'm going to stick with my trading philosophy, the way I trade. I'm going to stick with my exercise routine. One of the reasons that they're most successful when they do that is they take away choice. Once we start removing the choice from things, it allows our minds to focus on the things that are really important. How many decisions do you make throughout a day? If you've already decided that this is exactly how things are going to be, there's no longer a decision that needs to be made, which means that you can make decisions on things that really are important. Take away the things that don't matter anymore because you've already set those rules up, and you can be a lot more successful as well. So if you start an exercise program, or if you start a diet program, or you start trading rules, or if you're doing a YouTube show and you miss a day, that is an exception. Get back to the rules, remove that thought process, and you'll notice yourself having a lot more free time and you'll be a lot more successful. Okay, that was my rant. Now let's go ahead and get in the chart. So the first one is going to be VERI. I have that pulled up. I haven't actually looked at this chart. So VERI, Veritone. As you notice, there are no lines or anything on my chart. So the first thing that I want to see is where has this stock been trading in the past. So this is the daily time frame. Veritone is way low on the charts. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect pivots. So here's the first pivot high. I'm going to connect it through this pivot. You notice there's not a lot of price action. And so for me, this trend line is no longer valid. But what I do notice is there's this pivot right here that connects this choppiness. Let's take this pivot low. All this choppiness, I'm going to hit this shift button and draw this line. So really what we're looking at right now is $7.11 That's where the line in the sand is going to be, where Veritone has to get above with conviction. So it did get above that, as you can see. But then what happened to price? Price action then continued lower. And as you can see, now it's trading at 402. If price action can get above $7, reestablish itself above that, then this $7 level, 702, 710, is going to become support. On the downside, what I'm looking at is support trend lines. So the first thing that I notice is you take this low pivot. Yeah, it's March lows. You have the secondary pivot right here at $1.24. This is a stock that I would actually stay away from. This one seems more like a meme stock. You can catch some of these and take them for a nice ride to the upside. But as you can see, you can also take them for a nice ride to the downside. So this is what's called a roller coaster chart. Get whips to the upside and the downside. For me, I would have to assess, if I got into this, how do I like Veritone? Do I think it's a good company? Is it something that I'm willing to invest in for a longer term? Or is it something that I'm just trying to make a quick buck on? So if so, the first level that I have would be $3.80. If it closes below that, you do have a gap fill like a little bit lower, but ultimately for me, this chart is not a very good chart. It doesn't really give me a lot of information. Here's another upsloping trend line that I actually just noticed. So this would be kind of the $3.80 level where you've got support right now. If price action starts breaking below here, you've got a long way to go, probably down to 263. And then another level at $1.88, and then again $1.15. So for me, I'm not interested in this trade. Look at the potential downside move. 60% from a stock that's already way, way, way off of its highs. All right, FTAI is the next stock I'm going to be taking a look at. I don't have my normal setup, which is why I don't have my face in the upper right-hand corner. Similar thing. I'm going to look at where the stock has been. Okay. FTAI Aviation. Well, we can establish itself. We can see that it's established itself on this upsloping trend line. Look at this. Price action is hit on basically the highs in November, highs in January 2025, and then again in October 2025. So right now, this is going to be the first level of resistance. If price action can hit back up to this level, you're looking at probably a pierce of $200, and that would be, for me, a short-term top. Could eventually be a rollover, but I don't have enough information quite yet. So now what we got to do is see where price action has been to the downside. We do have some volatility, so I like to see that. I want to see where the next level of support is. So I'm going to take this pivot low here, connect it through this pivot low, and then connect it here. So that's what I do, is I just connect this low pivot from the 30th April, here again, 3rd of July, and then for the third time in the 19th of November. Or the 18th of November. So yesterday. Right now, we're still technically in an uptrend. If we break this upsloping trend line, you're likely to head back down to $113. Right now, though, it's still in an uptrend until proven otherwise. Your next level of resistance, again, is going to be around $200. This is not something I would trade at the moment. What I would likely do is take a look at this. So what I would look for is a move down with another move down, and then a retrace to the scene of the crime right here. This is where I'd enter a short and then take this down even further. And the reason I'd wait for a retrace to the scene of the crime is because at least this gives us an opportunity to stop out if we get a close back above this upsloping trend line with conviction. And then we could resort it at around the $200 even number. So those are the particular levels that I have on FTAI. The last one that I have is CRWV. I'm going to go over that. I do have some lines already drawn in the charts. You can see where my levels are currently, and then I can talk you through the rest of the charts. I don't know if I've updated this in a while, so we'll go ahead and check this out. CRWV is the next one. My first long level was at $84.40. It got really close to this level. Once price action gets close to an $84.40 level, when I've got that in the chart for a double bottom, the level becomes no longer valid. And the reason it doesn't come the reason it's no longer valid is once price breaks, there is not a lot of support below it. Look at all this price action. There's no pivot tops, there's no pivot bottoms. So for me, this is no longer valid. And then you will look for is a gap fill in charts right at $65.77. Look at what's happened to price action for CoreWeave. You're in a clear downtrend. And how you can identify a downtrend is you've got this pivot high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, little bit of a lower high. And the reason I say it's a lower high, because look at this price action. This closed here where this close was here. So it's a lower close. And then all of a sudden you had this major rollover. So my first level again is $65.77. If it starts breaking this support level, which also coincides with a pivot top, you have your next gap fill right here at $51. This is one that I would stay away from unless you believe in CoreWeave, just because this thing, it doesn't have a lot of price action. It goes back to April of this year. There are not a lot of people invested in this quite yet. What I look for is stocks that have been around for years. It gives me a better idea of where support and resistance is at, gives me a better idea where institutions are sitting, and I can get a better read on how the psychology is in these particular stocks. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys want to see more of my shows, I do go live every morning at 8:45 on the verifiedinvesting.com website. It's a free YouTube show. You guys should check it out. I give lots more levels, lots more charts. It is really rapid fire. Try to keep it a little bit slower. For some reason, I just get really excited in the mornings before we go live. So there's that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And then if you guys are enjoying this, please, you could really help me out. Make sure you're subscribing. Share with your friends. Maybe they need to hear something about making choices, right? If we can eliminate choices that we have to make and just do the things that we need to do, it reduces the amount of decisions that we have to make out throughout the day. And we can actually have more of a peace of mind. Really appreciate you. I'll be going over some additional charts from some other questions tomorrow, Thursday and Friday. Get back on the bandwagon, jump back in, so that way I can clear my head and get you guys some information that you guys are looking for. Hey, you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys next time in the charts. Take care.